Hello everyone and welcome back to the Game Movie Jerks. In today's episode of Hollow Knight Lore, we will be talking about the mini-tribes of Hallownest. Specifically, I want to talk about the Moskin, the Mushroom Clan, and the Hive. I'm putting all these into one video because they don't have a whole lot of lore on their own. We'll start with the Moskin, who live in Greenpath. They used to reside in both Greenpath and Queen's Gardens, but they left that area after the White Lady laid claim to it. The Moskin were not totally in favor of the Pale King, but not totally against him either. They allowed the king to build the Pilgrim's Way through Greenpath, which is a road leading from the Forgotten Crossroads to the City of Tears. However, they did state that anyone in the tribe would follow their laws and not the king's. And they never switched faiths like the Moth tribe did. We can tell that they are quite intelligent despite being plant things. They have written multiple lore tablets which are found throughout Greenpath. They also created a church to worship their deity Un. The Moskin believe that both themselves and the plants growing in their area were created from Un, a higher being. They say that he was dreaming of their civilization and he cast it into the real world. They also believe that they will one day be drawn back into his dream. They would protect each other and their plants until Un called back to them. However, this never happened and they were eventually overtaken by the infection. Moss Prophet actually chose to begin worshipping the Radiance. He and other mossy vagabonds dwell in the Moss Chapel just outside of the Queen's Gardens. Later in the game, you can come back to this area after talking to them once and find them dead, presumably to the infection. You can find Un in a secret room beneath the lake named after him. He gives you the charm shape of Un. He can also be seen in the Pantheon of Hallownest between battles. Next up is the creatively named Mushroom Clan. They are called this because, well, they look like mushrooms. They are neither bugs nor plants. These beings live in the fungal wastes and usually hide behind scenery. No relationship between them and the Mantis tribe is ever mentioned, which I find a bit weird considering that they live right next to each other. They actually supported the Pale King and allowed him to do what he pleased. However, they were not okay with the incursions of beasts from Deepnest. They are also intelligent enough to create lore tablets, though they are written in a language that they created, which you can only read with the Spore Shroom charm equipped. One lore tablet tells us that they operate in a hive mind state, meaning they all share the same mind. Because this is similar to the infection, it seems to have little effect on them, only making them a bit more aggressive and a little more powerful. The fungal core is a huge mushroom creature that we can assume to be the source of their hive mind. We don't know much about this creature, but it does have its own Dreamnail dialogue. Pale worm. What good to foresee a demise unavoidable? From this we can see that the huge mushroom didn't think the Pale King's plan to keep the kingdom eternal was warranted. It should also be mentioned that Mr. Mushroom is confirmed to not be part of the Mushroom Clan. He isn't part of the hive mind and he travels other kingdoms often. Now for the Hive, which had its own queen, much like Deepnest. The Hive is actually very similar to Deepnest, as it played no part in the kingdom and was not under the Pale King's authority. It is hidden away under the kingdom's edge, away from most everything. Most entrances are also sealed off, with only a few small ones open for patrol. The queen would be Hive Queen Vespa, who is no longer living. She actually grew so large she couldn't leave her domain and ended up dying there. Afterwards, the kingdom grew weak and ended up falling to the infection. One very unimportant but interesting question is how the Hive has multiple grubs within their borders. With the entire area pretty much sealed off, how did the grubs get there? We did a video on the Collector and speculated that he spread them across Hallownest himself. We did not cover how exactly he was able to get in and out of the Hive without being killed by numerous hivelings. Again, not very important, but a little interesting. This area doesn't have a lot of information surrounding it, but it does have some interesting trivia and changes behind the scenes. For example, it does not have its own map, but instead it's connected to the kingdom's edge. It makes sense that Carnifer was unable to get in, but I am still unsure how he was able to just walk 5 feet into Deepnest and sell you a map. Another interesting thing is something we mentioned in our lore video on Hornet. Specifically, that in a Reddit AMA with Team Cherry, they said that Hornet was originally planned to be trained and renamed by Hive Queen Vespa. Though they technically never confirmed if this was changed, I already speculated that it probably was. One thing I have yet to mention is that the Hive itself isn't where it used to be. I mean this quite literally. An early map shows the Hive placed right below Deepnest. Obviously it's been moved, but for what reason? It isn't really possible to give a direct answer to this question, however. To recap, the Moskin were born of the dream of Un. They accepted the Pale King, but still kept their law in the area. They became infected, and they are now very aggressive. The Mushroom Clan is a hive mind with a huge mushroom in charge. They were fine with the Pale King, and they also let him build roads through their land. They, too, are infected, but they seem less affected than the others. Hive sealed themselves off from the Pale King, but their queen fell, and so they did as well. They also became infected and are very aggressive. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video and know a bit more about the cultures of Hallownest. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time on the Game Movie Jerks.